Welcome back, Arch's Garage. And we got another one of Arch's projects, a Craftsman 21-inch mulcher. I think I got this one for $15 from Mikey. I paid. I think really the biggest problem with it is it's missing one of those nice yellow things. But I don't know, it looks pretty good. I don't remember what he said was wrong with it. I think the cable works up here. Maybe it's jammed. No, the cable is broken here. Okay, so I have a handful of cables in stock. I'm going to need to order a few more. This is it after I cleaned it up. It was pretty naggy. So let's see what it comes out like. We're going to pull all the pieces off. It got a good pressure washing. This is, you know what I do. This is how I bundle it. And then I put all the parts in a bag, or I shove some of them back into screw holes. Alright, let's get started. I'm going to pull the carb and pull the plug and get a compression test. We're going to check the magneto. We're going to do all of that. Alright, so we'll be back in a bit. Alright, there's the carburetor. You can see a little bit of the gook in there. I just got it apart. Boy, it feels, this is heavy. I just did the Troy-Bilt. There's a gook in there and the jet. See the gook in it? This camera doesn't really focus well. Alright, we're going to get the gook out. We'll put that in a little acid. Let's get this cleaned out. Totally, it's like 10 times the weight of the Troy-Bilt that I did, which is a little bit newer. That carburetor felt like the ones that you get from China. The cheesy replacement ones from Amazon. This is nice. Alright, let's get it cleaned up. I'm going to get this piece cleaned up a little bit and throw it in some acid and let it sit. And then we'll get the rest of it. Okay, so I got this thing all cleaned up, and this is the fixed jet in the bottom, and normally I can take this one and shove it in there, but it won't go in. So I'm wondering if it's clogged. I can't see in there. It looks like it might be. So I'm going to take a 24 thousandths, and let's get you down a little bit closer. I'm going to take one of my 24 thousandths mandrels, and I'm going to run it in there and see, because it really does feel like it's clogged. And considering all of the junk, yeah, it was clogged. You can feel it, right? It should be around 30. See the junk on the bottom? I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but I see it. And now we can shove this in there. So we got to, and I've been sitting in, it's been sitting in acid, and this still doesn't want to go in. No, there it goes. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of junk on that. So that's another reason why this one didn't run. So let me clean this one up. We're going to bring it out to about 28, 29 thousandths. Get it nice and clean. And I use my little mandrel kit. And this is great. This is the tip cleaner for welding. And we'll put the carb back together. Everything came nice. Wire wheel and, just a wire brush rather. And alright, we'll get it all back together. And that was one of the things that was wrong with it. Alright, the fixed jet in the bottom was clogged. Alright, we'll be back. Let's check the coil. Just cleaning out in here a little bit. I like to use my Lumabrite. And then I'll rinse it with a little bit of two-stroke. We'll get that out of there. Because it's usually a little naggy. And, I always clean the coil. I hit the wire wheel, and then I go with two-stroke oil, because it is a laminate. So let's see what we got. So 4.5K, 4.58K. That's great. Now let's go here. 4.59. That's great. So remember, we're going to the primary over to the ground areas, and that's all clean. So we're going to put this away. We'll finish this up. Just blow that out. Okay, carb is on, nice and clean. Let's get the mag cleaned up. Mag area, the magnets and stuff. Alright, so I found a bale, and let me move you back a little, you might see some of it, and this one's in pretty good shape. So what I did was I put a little bit of white grease on it, and then I just drive it in and out. So let's see if it fits. So normally what I do is I just grab it, connect to one end, and then slide it in and snap it. And it's just so easy. And then we just need to figure out how to bring this end up. And I'll show you what I mean. Now we got to see if this fits. And I'll give you a look-see over here. I like to come from underneath usually, because I find it's easier, but some people like to go from the top. I like to go from underneath because it seems like it stays better the way you clamp it. So let me get you up over here and I'll show you. Alright, so I try to come from underneath the bars, and then I just connect it up here, and then I snap it into the hole. Now this should be a Craftsman unit, but if it's not, we'll know. Yep. Oh, look how nice that is. That's beautiful. And then we'll tie wrap it later underneath like that. Okay. And down here, all right, over on this end, just take, because this is a pivot point, just take a little bit of engine oil and let that get in there. You come back later and wipe it off, but you don't have to get it on the shoe or anything, but and we'll come back later on. And oh, it's so easy right now, and when it's working great, it's just such an easy movement. So that's done. So we got the carburetor on, we got the engine bail on. I'm going to tie it back for now so I can do a compression test. And what I often use to tie it back is a piece of Velcro. And then I just come back up over here. Just tie it through. And it's so easy to remove. People use clamps and everything. That's crazy. Alright, and one last thing before I'm going to continue, we're going to do a compression test. But, and I try to remind everybody, but this manifold here, this one's plastic, they're almost always loose. You got to tighten that. They break very often, so keep a few extras if you're parting mowers out. Tighten them, okay? A little bit at a time, back and forth, and because that'll be a vacuum leak, and you'll think there's something wrong with the carburetor settings or whatever, and it just, you're never going to be able to solve it. So that's another little tip. So let me back you up. We're going to put a little scuum and jutes in here, turn it over a few times, spin it real good. While we're spinning it, we can check spark too. Alright, just to make sure. We'll throw a plug on it. Alright, so let me set that up. Alright, just loosen up the magneto enough so that you can move up against the magnets easy without any effort. Alright, and then we'll put a feeler gauge on it. We'll run this around, see how it pulls right in. That's what I want. Okay, and then we can tighten it. And then we can check the spark when we're doing the compression test phase. Right, get it nice and tight. And I always use 1/4 inch drive because you don't want to overdo it. And that's why I lubricate the coils, because they're laminates. You want to make sure that they're compressing well. And I lubricate the screws too, so I want to make sure I'm not stripping anything, or having additional friction, because I'm feeling it. That's fine. Alright, let's get my feeler gauge back. Alright, we'll go find a plug, and let me get my spinner. Just going to spin it up. You might see the spark. I don't know. We'll see. Sometimes I connect it. Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah, let me show you. Oh, of course, naturally. Isn't that beautiful? That's why I do these magnetos. It's silly to not do that, because why would you change the plug, do the plug and not do the magneto, or do the magneto and not clean the plug? Like, this plug isn't clean yet, but we're going to clean it. I had the plug that was in here. I'll show you if we could just get this through. That's where that wire goes. So this plug is pretty decent. I pulled this out of my inventory. And let me back up. Now the plug that I had, I don't remember which one it was. I think it was this one. This one's not bad. You know, the body's a little cheesy, but actually not that bad. Okay, so we know we're going to do a compression test just to see where we are with this motor. And I put some of my favorite liquid inside, and it just gives it a chance to free it up. Any water I have in there from washing it. There shouldn't be any in there, but you know, if a valve is open or whatever. And let's see what we get. I know you probably can't see the gauge, but it's alright, I'll tell you what it is. Yeah, 55. That's not bad. That's not bad, that's fine. Alright, let's get a plug cleaned up. I just want to take a shot of this, which is a good sales pitch shot, picture. We got to get the cover cleaned up a little bit in lube. We got to get a tank, make sure the tank is clean. All right, so we have a few things to do. I'll be back in a bit. Okay, because it's getting towards the end of the day. All right, and I know I'm going to continue this tomorrow. I finished up one this morning. I'm going to use some of the cheaper paint. Okay, now I don't use crap paint. I've seen guys, one guy I know in particular. He uses, I spend, $1. Don't do that. This is inexpensive paint. It's Rust-Oleum, and this is the cheaper variant. Now, they have a faster dry. It's a little bit more expensive. It's almost twice the cost. And when I have less time to work, I use it. But I like this because it's cheap, and this is getting towards the end of the day. And for me, all right, I don't want to spend that much more time tonight on this. I can only go so far. So we're going to start laying on some black, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And will this burn off? No, it won't, because they don't use anything special. These cylinder heads don't get all that hot. They just don't. If you get a little bit on the muffler, that's fine. You can wipe it off. This might even burn off the muffler, so don't worry about it. Just get it, make it pretty. Doesn't have to be perfect. I don't care if it gets into the hole. Gets a little bit on the carburetor. Who cares? Because they have overspray in the carburetor. So that's all I'm going to do there. We're going to brush paint the rest of it. Same thing. I use a brush paint. I use the Rust-Oleum semi-gloss because it looks correct. Flat has an advantage where if you have a lot of leaks on something, you can see it because it wets up. But on this looks better. Alright, so later on we'll put the plug in and everything, but right now we're working on this. So we're ready for the cover, and before I put the cover on, alright, see how sticky that is? And look, it doesn't want to retract. Alright, so service. Alright, even though I've cleaned it, and I don't care if it's plastic, it doesn't matter. Let this roll in, let the oil roll in. Good, see, it's already starting. And then I like to get it where the spring tab is. Get it in there, good, and let it roll in. And then get my rag. Yeah, look at that. Right away. Okay, it wants to come back. And then it'll all retract in there. Alright, then you can wipe it out a little bit if you want to get rid of the extra because it's going to drip. But who cares if it drips? Where's it going to go? And if it drips onto the other side where we're going to paint, that's alright because we're going to clean this off in a little bit. Alright, we're going to wipe that down. okay, before we paint it, because we're going to brush paint it. Alright, so we'll wipe that down. We'll bend this back, and it makes it look good. So, now I could spray paint it, but we're going to brush paint it because I want to get in here, all through in there and stuff. I don't want to spray much anymore because I don't want to get it all over the green, because this will clean up. You'll see what that'll look like. It'll look okay. Alright, we're not going to make it perfect. This is not a very expensive mower, but it has a bag and it's a push, but it's going to be a little bit more of a, let's say, than a $60 mower. This will probably be about $75 or $100 with a bag if you sell it at the right season. Alright, so let me get that done, and we'll be back in for a little bit, a little brushing, and then we'll clean out the gas tank, we'll mount the plug, we'll do a few other things because it'll be wet, and then tomorrow we can come back and empty the oil and finish it all up. Also today we're going to clean off the handle. We're going to get the handle in black as well. So we'll get the whole handle done, and then we don't have to touch it. We're done for the day. And when we come back tomorrow, it'll be dry enough to handle. This paint takes a while to dry, and it's perfect time. It's the end of the night. That's it. Alright, done for tonight. Alright, got the black paint on, and you see it's shiny, but that's okay. We don't care. Let me shut this off. Alright, because it won't be shiny tomorrow. Now here's a painter's trick. Alright, this is Mineral Spirits Lacquer Thinner, and you know, you can get it to flash a little bit more and a little quicker if you spray a little bit on. And another thing it does is it removes any brush marks. And also, it's a nice thing to do if you're painting and you want to move the paint around a little bit better. Alright, you can move it around, especially if it's a little thick. You can then come back, follow up with a brush, and it'll lay down and the brush marks will disappear. Right, we do that when we're blowing paint on, let's say, a car or whatever, and primer or anything else, and you want to flash it. And you can finish up with a little bit of lacquer thinner in the gun, either just pure straight lacquer thinner and help clean your gun out, or you can really thin the heck out of the last coat of paint. But you got to watch out. You can cause runs. So I just wanted to show you that's something you could do. So let's say you get a little thick and it's a little runny or whatever, and you don't want it so thick. You could spray that on there and then run the brush over it. And move it around a little bit easier, and you could make the paint even go further, because you don't need it that thick. It's a color wash really, and just protecting any areas that you know, maybe don't have any paint on them. But this is it. Tomorrow we'll come back, and we don't have to do anything here. You can see, by the way, you see where the green, where it got a little shinier than over here where it's dry, right? Well, that's what's going to look like with clear on it. Okay, that's another way you can tell. You want to see what it looks like with clear on it, right? You see a lot of that staining and everything disappears. So tomorrow we're going to wipe that down when we're all done, changing the oil and everything else, and we'll blow clear on everything when we're all done, like I usually do, and it's going to look great. It's going to be a nice little lawnmower for somebody. It's a nice Craftsman product, and I'll be happy with it, and somebody else will be happy with it. And it'll just be a nice, quick, easy machine to go through, and that's one of the reasons why I took this one. I think I gave maybe 15 to this one. I would give 20, but it did have a few other issues, and it is a push mower, so they just don't get as much. But he's a good guy, my guy that I get all the stuff from, and he really helps me out, and I hope I help him out. I give him 2 really nice machines. He should be able to turn a good profit on this year as well, and that give him a little bit more incentive. So we're done here today, and we'll come back tomorrow. Trying not to get all that glare on this. Not bad shape. Notice it's got that notch there as well as this one over here. Very symmetrical. So they were a little sharp, so I deburred them and cleaned them up. Another thing I like to do is just, you know, that's why I like the flapper grinder. You clean up the mounting surfaces at least, you know, this way, especially on the blade side, because it just gets so bad. And if you want, you can take your wire wheel and run it on this too. And that way you got a good clean mounting surface. So, you know, the blade's got more life left in it. It's in good shape. We're going to put this on, and then we'll get to the next step. And don't forget to lube up your blade. Now, a lot of times I just grab, I got the oil leaking out over here, right? So I kind of do them at the same time. I dip it in oil, and then I put the blade on. with the oil dripping all over the place. I want to make sure we get that on there right. And that way the next guy, you know. And when you see it really dry on the bottom seal, it's not a bad idea to squirt my little two-stroke on that. It'll sweeten the seal up a little. So we're going to blast this on with the impact, and then we're going to flip it. I got to move the oil out of the way. That's it. We're done there. Okay. And let me flip it over and get the oil out of the way. We're going to get oil in it. We'll do a few other things. You know, oil came a little nasty, but it's not bad. You know, maybe I could use that to something. I like to pour it around the yard sometimes too, because I like it. There's areas where grass grows and I hate it. And you don't need a lot. You put a little bit of it down and you're happy. Alright, so we're back to that. Let's put the cover on and all that. And I got to clean a plug. And I noticed that the fuel line was beat. So we're going to replace this fuel. I'm going to take this back off. When I had it flipped upside down, I just got a better look at it. This tank's a little tired. You know, I could put a different tank on it, but at least let's do the fuel line, all right? And we'll get that out of the way, and because that's no good, you know. Usually they're okay. A lot of times I can use the old ones, some other parts machines, but I don't think I have. I looked, I didn't see one jumping out at me, so we're going to have to replace the fuel line. Okay, I got a nice freshy line. I cut it from my stock. You know, nice freshy line. Look at that. It's all, gee, you think that's bad? You know, all right. So let me put that on. We're going to squeeze that on there, and we'll get to the next step. All right, glad I saw that. Okay, fuel line's on, and this, I replaced the gaskets on these. This is the push bulb style, and make sure the bulb is good, but if the gasket isn't good, it'll never work. It's very important that you have a good gasket on that, and a lot of times they just come off beat, and you know, plus when I wash them, ultimately even just washing it seems to destroy them. On the other ones it's not as important, the ones with the automatic choke, but with these it's very important. It'll never work without a nice tight fitting gasket. So this new gasket, I try to do whatever, you know, is required to make it work properly. I'm not against, you know, repairing things and replacing things. You know, a lot of times I don't have to do the fuel line like I just did. Most of the time I don't. But as you saw, you know, that time I did. And I try to inspect the tanks and make sure all the gas tanks are clean. Everything is good. So let me put this back on. We'll get this done. And we're going to get oil in it next and clean a plug. And then we'll get fuel in it. And make sure it's tight, but do it by hand. Because it's plastic, you'll deform it. You'll ruin it, and then it will seal and it'll be garbage, this plastic piece. Alright, we'll be back. Okay, we got a leak. I propped it up and clamped it off. We've got to take it back apart. That's what happens. It's not the hose. It could be the bowl gasket. So let's pull it apart. Alright, so a couple of things I noticed. I changed the float out just because I found one that seems to seal better, and you test that by blowing into it, and I also put some fuel through it. I believe it's the float because I see fuel coming up through into the body, into the inside of the venturi. But also this had a really hard gasket. These get awfully hard, and so there was junk underneath it. So this was really dirty, this one, if you remember. So I just took it apart and I cleaned it up again. Alright? Really gave it a good cleaning and get the junk up underneath the gasket. And then what we can do is we can soak that. Alright? And then we can put this gasket down along with this gasket to provide a better seat. You can actually use two. So let's try that. Okay, so I made that little gasket with my punches, like you saw. And I pushed down on the seat with the needle. I changed the float, which has got a little bit more of an angle on it. You can heat them, by the way. You can, if you want to change the angle, you heat that. Heat it with a like you can use your hair dryer, or I use a hot air gun. So now let's blow into this and see what's going on. No, wait, it's working. All right, so you hear it? All right, now let's turn it upside down. It's sealed. Okay, because as the float comes up, alright, it's sealing off. And the double gasket in here, I just soaked that other old gasket, but make sure there wasn't any junk underneath it, because that'll have a hard time. Let's see if I can get those. I mean, I made it and it seems to work. We'll find out. Let's put it back together. Let's find out. I think it's working. I don't see anything coming out. There's a little bit of fuel left in the tank. We'll give it a couple of minutes. Let me go do something. I'll come back and we'll check it before we put the rest on. And put a little more fuel in the tank too and see. But I'd like to get some of the needles and seats as well, and some bowl gaskets and a few things. This is a really nice carburetor. This is the heavier. As I was mentioned earlier, it's heavy, you know, and it was clean. So why not have a kit, you know, where you just have some of the soft parts, and the seat too. Those seats, I think, pretty sure I've used them in Tecumseh carbs. So, you know, having a few around in case of emergency, or you're cleaning it, you got a good carb and you're cleaning it, and you blow too heavy and you don't notice it, and you blow the seat into the kingdom come. So we'll be back in a bit. Looks like it's fixed. Alright, I cleaned up a plug. Yeah, nice, huh? You know, sometimes, you know, these used plugs are nice. Alright, let me stick that in, and we'll do a few more things. Oil's in, fuel's in. Got to go over the tires and the adjusters. We'll get that going. Alright, last look. We're going to bring it outside and get a look at it. I think I see a little bit of clear blemish on here. There's a little blemish right down here. But who cares? Alright, it's done. Alright, let's bring it outside and do a start. And then we'll get another look at it in the light. And I got to find a bag for it. Alright, let's do a smoke test. Prime it. That's like 8 times. Alright, it runs. Let me get the bail for it. My little Velcro thing. Okay guys, another nice successful refurb. I think it came out pretty good. It runs really good. We'll start it back up again and I'll just check it to make sure. The only thing I want to do is, when I bring it back in the garage, I'm going to move this cable, because the way it is, I want it on top. Generally I like it on the bottom, but I want it on top because this particular bag is difficult to put on otherwise. So we'll do that, and then it'll be done. Okay? So thanks for watching Archer's Garage, another one of Uncle Archer's projects, and we got everything just the way we need it. And we could put this up for sale, and somebody will enjoy this for the season that's coming up. It's a beautiful day out. It got nice out. It was very cold. It's a couple of days after the 14th, you know, Valentine's Day, and it's just still early Feb. Alright? So I'll see you on the next one.